To find equivalent fractions, you can either find fractions with a larger denominator or with a smaller denominator. To do that, you either multiply or divide the numerator and denominator of your fractions by the same number. So let's try this. We are going to start off with 12/16. Remember, equivalent fractions show the same amount, they just look different. So we're going to start off by finding an equivalent fraction with a smaller denominator. To do that, we need to find a number that goes into both 12 and 16. Remember, if it goes into it, it has to go in without any remainders. So it is divisible by it. It is a whole number. Looking at these numbers, I know that 12 and 16 are both divisible by 2. They're even. So I'm going to divide 12 by 2 and 16 by 2. When you divide the numerator and denominator by the same amount, you're creating an equivalent fraction. So 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. 6/8 is equivalent to 12/16. It just has a smaller denominator. We could do this with other numbers. You don't always have to divide by 2 to find an equivalent fraction. Looking at this, I know that 4 also goes into 12 and 16, so I can divide by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. So to find an equivalent fraction with a smaller denominator, you divide. Of 6/8, and we're going to go back to our 12/16, and we are going to find an equivalent fraction, this time with a larger denominator. To find one with a larger denominator, you multiply. You can choose any number you want to multiply by. So I always like to start off with multiplying by 2. I do this because it's easy for me to double numbers. 12 times 2 is 24, and 16 times 2 is 32. So 24/32 is equivalent to 12/16. This is also equivalent to the fractions we found earlier, 3/4. So to find a fraction with a larger denominator, you just multiply. Now it's time for you to try one on your own. Let's try 22/30. Try it on your own, pause the video, and when you're ready to check, restart the video. 22/30 is both even, so I'm going to divide them both by 2. 22 divided by 2 is 11, and 30 divided by 2 is 15. 2 is the only common factor, so 2 is the only thing you can divide them by. You can also use the division method to write fractions in lowest terms. So let's try 8/12. We're going to reduce this to lowest terms. So first I need to find a factor that goes into 8 and into 12. I know they're both even, so I'm going to divide them both by 2. Remember, what do we do to our numerator? We also need to do to our denominator. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. I see that they are both even, so I know I'm not done. I need to find something else they have in common. A common factor between 4 and 6 is also 2, so I'm going to divide them both by 2 again. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 2/3 has no other common factors other than 1, so that means it is in lowest terms. Now, you can simplify a fraction in more than one way. If you find a larger number that they have in common, there are less steps to simplifying them. So I also know that 4 goes into 8 and 12, So I could divide both of these by 4 right away. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. Right away, I can see 2 and 3 only have a common factor of 1, so I know that that is in simplest terms. Now, what if they're not even? What if you have a number such as 12 27ths? 27 is not even, so I know I can't divide by 2. Well, you try other factors. You look for other things that go in. So looking at these, I know that 3 also goes into 12 and 3 goes into 27, so I could divide them both by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. The only common factor between 4 and 9 is 1, so my fraction is in simplest terms. Now it's your time to try. I want you to try simplifying 25 40ths and 27 39ths on your own. Pause the video when you're ready to check. Restart the video to check your answer. To reduce 25 40ths, to write it in simplest terms, I see that these numbers end in a 5 and a 0. I know that if they end in a 5 or a 0, they are divisible by 5. So I am going to divide each of these by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 40 divided by 5 is 8. The only common factor between 5 and 8 is 1, so I know my fraction is in lowest terms. To simplify 27 39ths, I need to find a common factor. I know 3 goes into both of these, so I'm going to divide by 3. If you're unsure, just guess and check. Figure out what goes into each. 27 divided by 3 is 9. 39 divided by 3 is 13. The only common factor between 9 and 13 is 1, so we know our fraction is in lowest terms.